One of the big things that we have been talking about throughout NACAC 2022 is inclusion and representation, and that's why I'm really excited to introduce you all to Alyson Tom, who is a co-leader of the AAPI interest group. Thank you so much for joining us. What an important group to be a part of and to represent and just to educate us on all of the work that you are doing. Talk to me a little bit about what you have seen as a member for the last couple of years and how you have all grown.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here and asking me that. I first became a member of NACAC in 2006 or so and went to my first national conference maybe a year or two after that and decided to check out the Asian American and Pacific Islander Special Interest Group, and it was amazing. I felt so empowered to be surrounded by people who looked like me, who were in leadership positions and presenting at conferences and doing these amazing things. I mean, they were almost like gods in my mind as a 20-something new admission officer. And so I kept going back to the meetings because they felt so fulfilling and so empowering, especially working in primarily white spaces. So it was really neat to have this time where we were it. And so I stayed involved, got more involved in AAPI issues and more passionate about certain topics. And in 2018 or so, I was asked to be a co-leader of the SIG when one of the co-leaders stepped down. And honestly, at first I was like, no, I'm too busy. I can't do that. But then I ran the idea behind with a couple of friends, and they said, well, why would you not do it? You're so excited about this and about these issues and about empowering people. You have to do it. And I said, okay, I guess I'll do it. And we've really worked to grow the SIG and include more people, and also to present more at conferences to get more Asian American and Pacific Islander topics at conferences, whether the national conference or Guiding the Way to Inclusion during the summers. And I mean, we've seen our membership in the SIG grow. There were meetings early on in my career where we had maybe a dozen people, and we'd sit around in a little circle and talk, and it was amazing and fulfilling. And we just had our meeting yesterday, and we had at least 80 people there. And it knocked my socks off. It was so amazing to see that many people and in an AAPI focused space. It was so neat.
You know, I love hearing your story, and I think it's so important, especially for, maybe people who don't realize how crucial and really valuable that representation is. I can tell you, so I'm from Egypt, and my mom wears a hijab. And we were walking around the mall the other day, and there was an a makeup advertisement or something with a woman wearing a hijab. And my mom, who is a grown-up, I don't need to say her age, but
yeah.
A full-grown woman, and was overwhelmed to just see, look, there's somebody who looks like me, and
yeah.
On a stage, on a poster, just being represented.
Yes.
And I think that more people need to tell those stories. So I love hearing you say the similar things and say how valuable it is just to be able to see someone who looks like you out there, right?
Yeah. It is so powerful, and representation matters a lot. And one of our goals as the SIG is to encourage more of our members to present, whether at regional or national conferences, to encourage them to run for committee positions, for leadership positions. We as a NACAC just elected the second ever Asian American to the NACAC board this year, and it's amazing.
And I think sometimes people don't even realize, like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this, but like what that means for other people, just to see them in that position of power. It has to just be inspirational for so many people to be able to witness that. And although it's many, many years later than it should be, let's call that what it is.
Yep.
What kind of feedback are you getting? I know that you work with high school students, and what kind of feedback are you hearing from people now that this is becoming more of the conversation and more people are opening up to discussing these topics?
Yeah, I mean, I love that more people are aware of the importance of diversity and representation, and I've seen a change. I mean, there were years at the NACAC conference where there wasn't a single session on Asian American or Pacific Islander topics, and it was really discouraging. There was one year where I was with a group several years ago, and we put in a proposal. It was declined, and one of the pieces of feedback we received was, oh, there's not a lot of interest in Asian American topics, and that was very frustrating. You know, fast forward to now, this year, there were 2 Asian American centered sessions and a Pacific Islander centered session, and it's almost like, well, of course there were.
Right, exactly. That was my reaction.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean, of course?
Yeah.
To not have one, I feel like would be the strange thing.
Yeah. So just to see the evolution, it's been really heartening.
I love that. And what do you think you would say to maybe a younger student who maybe is not seeing the representation or is feeling a little left out or isolated? What kind of advice would you give them? What to seek out or someone to talk to?
I think I would come at it from a couple different perspectives. When I was a high school student, I was actually embarrassed to be Asian because I was one of the only ones in my school. Actually, I should say in elementary school, and then high school was a little bit better, but I would tell students now to be who you are, be proud of who you are, embrace who you are, and be unapologetically you, whatever that means. And there are some students who are still figuring out their racial identities. That is normal, and acknowledge that that is normal. So just from an identity perspective, it's really be you. And if you don't know who that is, that's okay. Just keep working to figure that out. In terms of representation, if you don't have it where you are at your school, it is possible to be the only one or one of just a few. Look broader. I mean, the internet's an amazing thing. I didn't have that when I was a kid. I'm dating myself now.
But back before the internet.
In the olden days. But now people can, students can find mentors and role models who look like them, whatever that means, whether they're, multiracial or multi-ethnic or you name it, to find those people and look to them as role models so that you know that you can do these things, whatever it is you want to do.
I love that. That's so wonderful. And thank you for all the work that you were doing. I'm glad your friends talked you into the co-leadership position. Yeah. I'm sure that you are doing wonderful work. I mean, I know that that's the case. So I'm glad that they twisted your arm and now you are helping lead this very important special interest group.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for telling your story. It's really, at the end of the day, your story is really what resonates with people and I think carries so much weight.